Dear listener to Whispers of the Night, I'm so glad you're here, choosing this time for yourself. A gentle pause, a quiet drift away from the noise of the day. Tonight, we will follow the story of the deer who carried the moonlight, a soft, dreamlike tale of courage, silence, and the glow that waits to be found in darkness. Before we step into the story, I want to remind you, this is your moment to let go. You don't need to solve, to plan, or to carry anything right now. For the next while, there is only rest, only stillness, only the sound of a story unfolding gently around you, like moonlight spilling across water. If thoughts arrive, let them come and go, like clouds drifting across the night sky. If your body feels restless, know that it will soften, moment by moment, with each breath. This is a safe place, a quiet space, a story to hold you as you fall into sleep. So, let us take a few moments together to prepare the body and the mind before we walk into the dreamlike woods where our deer is waiting. Now, let's begin by settling into comfort. Find the position that feels best for your body tonight, whether you're lying on your back, your side, or curled up like a cat in the softness of your blankets. Feel the mattress beneath you, steady and supportive, the pillow cradling your head, the blanket cocooning you in warmth. Close your eyes if they are not already closed, and bring your attention gently to your breath. Inhales lowly and easily, and exhale just as slowly, letting the air drift away like a sigh. Again, inhale cool and refreshing, and exhale warm and calming with each breath. Notice your body begin to soften, your shoulders release, heavy and loose. Your jaw unclenches, lips parting just slightly. Your hands rest quietly, your legs sink deeper into the mattress. Now imagine that with every inhale, you are drawing in moonlight. A cool silver glow enters your lungs, filling your chest, spreading calm through your arms, your legs, your whole being. And with each exhale, you release the day, its weight, its thoughts, its noise, letting them dissolve into the darkness around you. Feel yourself growing lighter with each breath, as though the gravity of the day is slowly loosening its hold. Now picture yourself standing at the edge of a quiet forest. The trees rise tall, their branches weaving like a cathedral overhead. The air is crisp, the scent of pine and earth grounding you. Above, the moon hangs full and bright, casting silver across every leaf, every stone, every hidden path you take. A step forward and then another, the ground soft beneath your feet, the hush of night wrapping around you like a blanket. The forest does not feel empty. It feels alive, welcoming, timeless. The shadows are not frightening, they are companions, holding space for the light that guides your way. In the distance, a shape appears, a deer standing still, crowned with antlers that glow faintly with moonlight. He waits for you, calm and steady, as though he has always known you would come. This is where the story begins, and soon you will follow him into the night. The deer who carried the moonlight. The silent meadow. The meadow waits for you like a breath held in twilight. Its grasses bend and sway as though listening to something deeper than wind, something older than weather. The air is cool, and you feel it brush along your skin with the softness of woven silk. All around, silence seems to rest on every leaf, yet this silence is alive, not empty. It is filled with small sounds you notice only when you slow down. The hush of insects beneath the soil, the faint ticking of seeds shifting inside their husks, the distant rhythm of a bird's wings folding into night. At the center of this meadow, the deer stands. His fur is soft and pale, and though he is young, there is something ageless in his stillness. The moonlight spills across him as if the sky itself has chosen him for a quiet role. His antlers, not yet strong and tall, shimmer faintly at their tips, as though reflecting more than light, perhaps reflecting time itself. You watch him breathe, and the slow rise and fall of his chest feels like the meadow's own rhythm, drawing you into a calmer tide of thought. The meadow seems simple at first, but the more you look, the more it becomes a map of life's hidden design. Each blade of grass stands like a green spire, thin yet strong, bending without breaking. Grass is among the oldest companions of life on Earth, long before humans walked here. Grasses stretched across plains, feeding herds of animals that roamed beneath ancient skies. Their strength lies not in height or grandeur, but in their roots deep, holding soil together, preventing the earth from washing away when storms arrive. As you breathe in the meadow's air, you breathe in millions of years of quiet persistence, of a plant that learned how to survive by yielding, not resisting. You lower yourself to the ground and feel the texture of the grass cool against your fingers. Its fragrance rises, a green sweetness that is both simple and endlessly complex. Inside every blade is a world of chemistry, quietly unfolding without needing your notice. When light falls upon its surface, chlorophyll gathers it gently, like a cup catching rain. Sunlight, invisible and weightless, becomes food, becomes life. The deer eats the grass, the deer grows, and his antlers, faintly glowing now, are shaped from the same sunlight stored in green blades. You realize then that the deer is not separate from the meadow, is made of it, carried by it, and shining because of it. The silence of the meadow is not absence, but a presence that deepens as you listen. Even silence has a kind of science, a rhythm measured in pauses and space. Around you, the air carries no roar of engines, no weight of human noise. Instead, you hear the subtler orchestra, the sound of crickets, their song, a vibration born from the rubbing of wings, like small violins of the grass. A breeze stirs, and the grasses respond as a single body, their blades brushing together, creating whispers softer than sleep. This is the physics of stillness, energy moving in delicate forms, hidden within quiet yet alive all the same. You turn your gaze upward. The moon hangs above, pale and round, its light cool and unhurried. For centuries, meadows like this have stretched beneath it, and creatures have looked up at its silver face with the same quiet wonder you feel now. Scientists tell us the moon pulls at the earth with invisible threads, guiding tides across oceans, shifting rhythms of life in ways often unseen. Even here, far from the shore, grasses lean subtly into cycles shaped by moonlight. Some flowers bloom only under its glow. Some creatures stir because of its pull. And now the young deer, standing in its light, feels as though he belongs not only to this meadow, but to the wide conversation between earth and sky. As you sit, you begin to notice how your own breath mirrors what surrounds you. The air fills your chest slowly, as though grass itself were guiding your lungs into a gentler pace. You exhale, and the meadow exhales with you. In this moment, the separation between your body and the meadow softens. You, too, are a creature shaped by light, by air, by the rhythm of things larger than you can see. Just as the deer is made of grass, you are made of the world. You walk upon the minerals of ancient stone, the water of rivers, the carbon carried by leaves. You are not apart. You are within. A small wind brushes across your face, and you notice seeds floating past me, drifting travelers on invisible currents. Some fall near, some are carried far, perhaps to places the meadow will never see. This is the meadow's way of reaching into time, ensuring that its silence continues. Each seed holds a story already written, roots to sink, blades to rise, sunlight to gather. It reminds you that growth is not loud. It begins quietly, hidden, unnoticed, until one day the meadow stretches wider and richer than before. The deer lowers his head to graze, and the soft sound of his teeth pulling at grass is steady, almost ceremonial. He eats not with hunger, but with belonging, completing the circle of meadow, sunlight, and life. As he feeds, you realize that meadows, though still, are engines of energy. Photosynthesis hums invisibly within their blades, converting light into sugar, sugar into breath, and breath into strength. The deer becomes the meadow, and the meadow becomes the deer. Even you, by breathing here, are part of this exchange, part of the great weaving of silence and science. Night deepens. Stars gather like scattered seeds across the sky. The meadow cools, its grasses glittering faintly with dew that catches moonlight like crystal threads. The deer steps closer, and you see in his eyes a reflection of the stars above. His antlers, though small, shimmer faintly, as though carrying a constellation of their own. You wonder if this glow is only light, or if it is something older, an echo of how life itself carries memory of moon and sun, of earth and sky. As your body sinks deeper into stillness, you sense that this meadow is more than a place. It is a threshold, a gentle doorway into understanding how silence speaks through science. The grass whispers of survival, the seeds whisper of time, the moon whispers of tides, and the deer, silent and luminous, whispers of belonging. And you, simply by being here, are invited into that same conversation. The silence grows deeper now, settling over you like a blanket, soft and protective. The deer stands unmoving, yet his presence is steady, a reminder that silence itself can be a guide. You close your eyes, and even with lids lowered, you feel the meadow still holding you. It is no longer only around you, but within you, a rhythm that will remain as you drift further into rest and as sleep begins to fold gently around you. You hear one last whisper carried on the meadow's breathnet, an ending, but a question, asking what lies beyond this silent valley. What waits in the forests where the deer's quiet steps may one day wander next? The first glow. The deer is older now, though still young in his steps, still soft in his gaze. His antlers, once tender and small, now rise higher with a gentle curve, and when night falls, they gleam, not with fire, not with magic, but with a quiet glow that seems to mirror the moon above. You stand at the edge of the meadow, and you see villagers gathered in the distance. They come not to disturb him, but to watch. They come barefoot on the soft grass, their lanterns dimmed, their voices hushed, as if entering a sacred place. Children lean against their mother's hands, pointing with wide eyes at the deer's luminous crown. Old men sit upon smooth stones, their words carrying memories older than the children could imagine. Chosen by the moon, some whisper, a guide sent to balance day and night, say others. The glow of the antlers becomes not only a sight, but a story, a shape that stirs wonder and gives language to mystery. You watch as the deer steps forward and the light shifts across his antlers. Science tells you it is reflection, the simple play of angles and surfaces. The bone of antlers, smooth in their young growth, catches light as water catches it, scattering soft beams outward. But your heart also tells you this, that reflection is never simple. To reflect is to hold light for a moment, to carry it, to send it outward. Reflection, in its way, is a kind of generosity. The moon itself, glowing above, is not burning. It is only reflecting. Its silver face shines because sunlight touches it, even when your eyes see no sun at all. Without reflection, the night would be truly dark, endless, and heavy. But because of reflection, you walk beneath a sky that glows. And so the deer, his antlers tipped with silver light, becomes like a second moon in the meadow, carrying the same secret science that has guided sailors at sea and lovers on midnight walks for countless centuries. The villagers do not name reflection. They do not need the word. They name instead the story that the deer is blessed, that the moon has marked him. And you realize that stories, too, are a kind of reflection, ways of catching truth in a form that can be passed down. Children grow older, memories fade, but stories hold the light a little longer, sending it forward again and again. The children gather closest, their laughter soft but quick, like small bells carried on the air. They imagine the deer as a messenger. One child says he carries secrets from the stars. Another whispers he will lead them to hidden rivers glowing in the forest. Their words flutter and rise like seeds, planting new wonder in the night. And though you know the science of light, you also know this: wonder is not something to explain away. Wonder is the space where science and story meet, where reflection becomes both fact and dream. The deer lowers his head, his antlers brush against the tall grasses, and even the grass seems touched by the light. You kneel closer and see tiny drops of dew resting along each blade, shining like fragile lanterns. Dew, too, is a story written by science. At night, when the air cools, water vapor settles into droplets. The meadow breathes in the day's warmth, then lets it go. And the letting go creates silver beads of stillness. They catch the moonlight just as antlers do, and for a moment, the meadow glitters like a sky brought down to earth. Reflection upon reflection, light upon light. It is as if the night wishes never to lose a single beam, but instead finds countless ways to hold it, scatter it, return it. You think of how humans have followed reflections for centuries. Ancient travelers crossed deserts by watching how stars mirrored across their instruments. Artists painted water because water's reflections seemed to carry another world within them. And even now, when you glance into a mirror each morning, you look at reflection not only to see your face, but to find something of yourself that might otherwise be hidden. The deer shifts again, and his antlers glow brighter. Perhaps it is only the angle, the way moonlight falls at this exact moment, but the villagers murmur, and their breath rises like mist. For them, this glow is not an accident, but a sign. And you remember that in the history of humans, signs have always mattered. A glow in the sky became a god. A pattern of stars became a story. A streak of light became an omen. Through signs, people gave shape to the unknown, and in that shaping, they found comfort. The elders begin to tell tales. Their voices are steady, like roots holding earth together. One speaks of spirits who lived in the sky and chose animals as messengers. Another recalls a story of a deer long ago whose antlers burned with fire and guided lost wanderers home. These tales bend and shift like the grasses in the meadow, never fixed, always carried forward by the wind of memory. And as you listen, you realize that story itself is a science of survival. To remember is to endure. To pass down is to grow. You close your eyes for a moment and breathe in the night. The air is cool, filled with scents of grass and earth. And as you rest in the stillness, you think of light in its smallest form. Science calls it a photon, a particle that is also a wave, something that behaves like matter, but also like music. Every glow you see, every reflection begins with these tiny travelers. They rush from the sun, journeying across space, touching the moon, bouncing to earth, and finally finding rest upon the deer's antlers. The glow before you is not only a moment of beauty, it is the result of journeys longer than you can imagine. Photons crossing 93 million miles only to pause upon a single antler in a quiet meadow. The villagers may not know this language, but they know the truth of wonder. And you, holding both story and science, feel how they are not so far apart. One names the deer chosen, the other names reflection and photons, but both are speaking of the same glow, the same marvel. Time moves, softly. The children grow drowsy, leaning against their mothers, their laughter slowing into sighs. The elders fall quiet, their tails settling like dust upon the night air. The deer remains, still grazing, still glowing, as though he needs no sleep, only silence. Above, the stars deepen. You notice how they, too, are reflections of time itself. When you look at a star, you see it not as it is now, but as it was long ago. Light travels across unimaginable distances, and so starlight is always a memory, always a story from the past. In this way, the whole sky is a reflection, carrying messages across centuries. Perhaps you think the deer's antlers do more than catch the moon. Perhaps they remind you that to glow is also to carry history, to be a vessel of time. Your breath grows slower. Each inhale feels like the drawing of moonlight into your body. Each exhale, the release of story into the night. The villagers begin to drift away, their footsteps soft, their lanterns dim. The meadow grows quieter until only you and the deer remain. His glow seems brighter now, as though the night itself leans in to listen. You wonder what the deer will become. Will his antlers grow taller, stronger, glowing brighter still? Will the villagers weave more stories, each generation adding new threads to the tapestry? Or will the glow fade, leaving only memory? You realize that even if it fades, the stories will not. Reflection, once caught, does not vanish. It continues, carried forward, shining in new forms. The deer lifts his head, and his eyes meet yours. For a moment, you feel as though he sees you, not only your shape, but the light you carry, the reflection of stars within your own gaze. You feel part of the same rhythm, part of the same glow. And with this, your body softens into the meadow, surrendering to stillness, to sleep, to the long, slow tide of night. But as you drift, a question stirs within you, gentle as a breeze. If light reflects, what does it reveal when it enters the forest's shadows? If glow lives in openness, what becomes of it beneath trees, where darkness gathers and whispers of deeper mysteries begin? The forest of shadows. Night begins differently this time. Instead of its usual silver calm, the darkness arrives heavy, like a curtain drawn too quickly. The meadow where you rest feels dimmer than before, as though even the air carries a thicker shade. You lift your eyes to the sky, and you notice the stars have dulled, their brightness softened to faint smudges. The moon, too, seems veiled, its face hidden behind a gauze of cloud or shadow you cannot name. The deer notices it first. His antlers, usually so quick to catch the moon's reflection, glow faintly now, but without their usual clarity. He tilts his head, sensing something deeper than absence, something that belongs to the forest nearby. He begins to walk, his hooves pressing softly against the earth. The glow of his antlers, though dimmer, still guides his steps like two small lanterns in the dark. You rise and follow, moving with the same caution, feeling the meadow give way to the first line of trees. The forest waits, dense and unreadable. Its trunks rise like silent towers, and between them, shadows gather in heavy pools. Yet you feel no fear in following. Instead, you feel curiosity, softened by the rhythm of the deer's movements. Each step into the forest feels like a breath, drawn deeper into the body of the earth itself. The quiet here is different from the meadow's silence. It is thicker, more mysterious, filled with sounds that you only notice as you slow down. The creak of branches shifting, the drip of water from unseen leaves, the muffled flutter of an owl's wings. As you move deeper, you begin to think about shadow itself. Darkness has always carried story and science alike. In myths, shadows were once thought to be spirits, the darker half of the soul that lingered close but could not be touched. In science, shadows are the simple result of light meeting matter. When light travels in straight lines and encounters an obstacle it cannot bend through, what remains behind is shadow, a place not where light is absent forever, but where it has been momentarily blocked. Shadows are not separate from light. They are companions, always shaped by the glow they resist. The deer walks slowly, as though he understands this balance. His antlers shed faint light, and wherever he moves, shadows stretch, curling along the trunks, bending across the ground. You realize that his glow makes the darkness visible. Without even this faint reflection, you would see nothing at all. And here is the paradox. You only know shadow because of light. Darkness reveals itself only when something glows against it. Your eyes begin to adjust. The forest is no longer impenetrable, but begins to reveal its textures. You see bark ridged and furrowed, moss climbing in velvet bands, roots twisted like sleeping serpents. These details come not from new light, but from your own vision adapting. This too is science folded into the body. In your eyes, cells called rods awaken in low light. They cannot sense color, but they can catch movement, can stretch sensitivity into the dimmest glow. It is why stars appear brighter after long minutes of gazing. Why the forest slowly shapes itself from darkness into form. The deer pauses near a clearing above. The sky opens briefly, but still no stars return. A haze lingers, thin but steady, like smoke across glass. You wonder if this is cloud, or perhaps a veil of mist carried high. Yet, as you breathe, you taste no dampness. The air feels drier, cooler. Perhaps the darkness is not weather, but dust. You remember how the sky changes when fine particles drift high above dust from deserts, ash from distant volcanoes, even the faint haze of pollen carried by winds. These tiny grains scatter light, bending it away, dulling the stars. To the forest, this becomes mystery. To science, it is scattering, molecules and particles interrupting the path of starlight, softening the world into shadow. The deer lowers his head, sniffing the ground as if sensing a message written there. You follow his gaze and notice the soil beneath the trees is rich and damp. Forest shadows are not only absence of light, but also wombs of growth. Beneath the canopy, plants adapt to low light with broad leaves that gather every stray photon, stretching wide to drink in what little glow filters through. Some fungi thrive in this dimness, glowing faintly themselves through bioluminescence. Small lanterns hidden beneath logs or tucked in moss. You imagine the forest breathing with these secret lights, invisible now, but waiting for eyes patient enough to see them. A hush of wind stirs, leaves shift above, and for a moment the deer's antlers brighten, catching a stray beam of moonlight that slips through a break in the veil. The glow spreads wider, and the forest seems to lean into it. Shadows dance in shifting forms, stretching and shrinking as the light moves. You realize how alive shadows are, not fixed shapes, but constantly moving, bending with every flicker of flame, every turn of the moon, every step of the deer. Shadows, in their way, are the storytellers of light's movement. You walk deeper, and the forest feels endless. The ground softens beneath your feet, layered with centuries of fallen leaves. Each step is cushioned, as though you are walking upon memory. And perhaps you are. Leaves that once drank sunlight now rest here, returning their nutrients to the soil, feeding roots that will rise again. Even in shadow, the memory of light remains. The deer stops again, this time near a pool of water hidden among the trees. Its surface is dark, but as you kneel beside it, you see faint glimmers moving across it. Not stars, not moon, but tiny creatures, fireflies, resting upon the surface. Their small lanterns, pulsing, bioluminescence. You remember the gentle fire born not of flame, but of chemistry. Within their bodies, molecules mix luciferin, meeting oxygen, triggered by enzymes, releasing energy as light instead of heat. A glow made efficient, purposeful, delicate. Fireflies use it to find one another, to speak in flashes. And here, upon the shadowed pool, their language writes itself across the water like poetry of light. The deer's antlers glow in rhythm with these flickers, as if listening, as if answering. You lean closer, entranced. The forest no longer feels veiled in fear. Instead, it feels like a chamber of quiet voices, shadows speaking through fireflies, through roots, through the glow upon antlers. Science explains each mechanism, but together they weave something greater, a harmony of darkness and light. The villagers' stories echo in your mind. They would say the deer steps into shadow to bring back the moon. They would say he carries balance between day and night, and you realize the truth of it. Not that he commands the light, but that he carries awareness. He moves into darkness without fear, carrying glow enough to notice, to reveal, to remind. Perhaps this is what humans have always done as well, stepping into mystery with small lanterns of story, of science, of reflection. You sit beside the pool, and your breath slows further. Each inhale feels like drawing in the coolness of the forest. Each exhale like releasing weight into the soil. Around you, shadows deepen, yet you no longer resist them. They are not absence, but context, the canvas upon which every glow is painted. Without them, the firefly would not be seen. Without them, the deer's antlers would not shine. The deer moves on, stepping gently into the trees. Again, you rise to follow, though now you feel heavier, your body softened by calm. Sleep seems to move closer, carried by the hush of branches. You wonder where the deer is leading, perhaps to the heart of the forest, perhaps to the source of the strange dimming of sky. But you also wonder if the answer matters, for the journey itself feels like enough. Each step is a lesson, each pause a reflection. The forest grows darker still, and the deer's glow alone guides the way. His antlers bend the shadows, reminding you that even the smallest light can change the shape of darkness. You feel safe in this thought, held by it, carried like a child upon a lullaby. You look once more at the sky through the canopy. The stars remain veiled, the moon still softened, yet you feel no loss. You realize that perhaps light has not gone, only hidden, waiting, and perhaps tomorrow, when the haze clears, the sky will return brighter for having been missed. The deer continues forward, his steps patient, his glow steady, and as you drift nearer to the edges of sleep, you feel the question rising. If shadows shape light here, what shapes the light when storms gather and thunder rolls? The river of forgotten light. The forest grew deeper as the deer wandered, on his hooves, brushing through the hush of moss and fallen leaves. The path behind him had long dissolved into shadow, but he did not look back. Something greater pulled him forward, as though each step had been marked long before he was born. He moved like a secret through the night, his breath a cloud, his ears tilting to every murmur of wind. All around him, the forest pressed in oak, and ash and pine weaving a cathedral of silence overhead. Here, no bird stirred, no fox padded across the underbrush. The trees seemed to lean closer, listening, waiting, and then, at last, the hush broke open, a glimmer threaded through the dark. A head, faint at first, like a whispered memory. The deer lifted his head, his glowing antlers casting arcs of light into the gloom. The glimmer widened, the air shifted, and soon he stood at the edge of a river broad, black and impossibly still. It was unlike any river he had ever seen. Its surface did not ripple. It did not mirror the stars above or the trees along its banks. Instead, it seemed to swallow reflection whole, drinking the world into itself. Even the deer's antlers, which gleamed like pale fire, were swallowed at its edge, absorbed into its depths without trace. The deer hesitated. He felt the weight of silence here, the way it pooled and pressed, as if the river were not merely water, but a veil drawn across something vaster, something unseen. His ears flicked, his breath caught. For a long moment, he simply watched. Thirst came to him, soft but insistent. He lowered his head. The tips of his antlers brushed the surface, and then the river changed. A trembling began at the edges of the dark water. The silence cracked like a sheet of ice, and the place where his antlers touched flared with sudden radiance. His light, which had seemed swallowed, now unfurled into the depths. It spread in widening circles, illuminating currents that had been invisible before, and within those currents, fragments stirred. Moonlight, not whole, not unbroken, but scattered shards of it, as if centuries of forgotten nights had been gathered here, hidden and drowned. They drifted up, weightless and slow, and each fragment shone with a memory. One gleamed silver blue, another pale gold, another the faint blush of a winter dawn. The deer pulled back slightly, startled, but the fragments continued to rise, spiraling toward the surface, drawn to his glow. The water shimmered now, no longer black but alive, trembling with shifting lights. It was as though the moon itself had been shattered across time, and its pieces had all fallen here into this secret river. The deer stepped closer, hooves sinking into the soft bank. He bent to drink, and as he did, the fragments gathered around his muzzle, lighting the water in long ribbons of silver. When the first mouthful touched his tongue, something more than coolness entered him. The taste was not merely was memory. He saw within himself images not his own. The river held visions of long forgotten nights. A wolf standing proud on a ridge, howling beneath a round, perfect moon. A young child gazing up from a cradle, eyes wide with wonder at the glow through a window. An owl in flight, wings brushed with silver as it crossed an ancient clearing. Each sip awakened another fragment, and the deer trembled beneath the weight of them. It was not sorrow, not joy, was something deeper, a recognition of belonging. These memories, though not his, belonged to the world he was bound to. The world the river had kept safe in silence. He lifted his head again, antlers gleaming brighter now, infused with the silver threads of what he had tasted. The river no longer swallowed his gloat, reflected it, multiplied it, until the entire surface shimmered like liquid glass. But as the deer watched, he noticed something else. The fragments of moonlight did not scatter aimlessly. They drifted in a direction, always pulling forward, deeper into the river's heart. The current was subtle, almost hidden, but undeniable. It beckoned. The deer took a step into the water. The surface trembled around his legs, but did not soak or chill him. Instead, it parted softly, like fabric brushed aside. He moved deeper, each step followed by a ripple of light, until he was waist deep, then chest deep. The fragments clustered near him, surrounding him in a slow-moving constellation, as though he were walking through the night sky itself. The forest vanished behind him, lost in the distance. Ahead, the river widened into something vast in expanse, so great it seemed to dissolve into infinity. No bank on the other side, no clear ending, only silver and shadow. The deer paused. His breath came slow, his heart steady. The antlers upon his head, once a soft glow, now burned with quiet brilliance, each branch etched in moonlight. He understood. Then the river was a keeper of what the world had forgotten, of lights lost to time, of nights unremembered, and it had waited for someone who could carry them forward, someone who could guide them back into the heart of darkness and bring them home. The deer lowered his head once more, touching the water with his antlers. At that touch, the fragments surged. They gathered, swirling, aligning themselves into streams of silver that flowed ahead, forming a path across the vastness, a river within the river, a way forward. The deer stepped upon it, the water beneath his hooves grew firm, not stone, not earth, but something made of pure memory and light. He walked, and with each step, the current followed. carrying shards of moonlight behind him. The path did not waver. It guided him deeper and deeper toward the center of whatever waited beyond dot around him. The silence sang, not with sound, but with presence. It was the song of all things forgotten, now remembered. The deer did not fear. His journey had always been toward this dot, and so he walked, bearing the river's hidden light, toward the unseen heart of the darkness that called him still. The keeper of night. The river carried him far until its silver path curved upward, rising like a staircase of light that climbed toward the mountains. The deer walked without hesitation, though each step seemed to leave the world he had known behind. Forest and field, stream and hollow all fell away into shadow, until only the shimmer of the river remained beneath his hooves. At last, he reached stone. A mountain loomed before him, its face dark and sheer, as though carved from night itself. The silver path ended at a cavern mouth that yawned wide, ringed by jagged teeth of rock. Above it, the sky was hollow, a void where the moon should have been. The deer lifted his gaze and felt the emptiness press upon him. The stars looked lost without their companion. Still, he did not falter. He stepped into the cave. Inside, the air was cool and ancient, filled with the scent of stone and dust. The walls glistened faintly, as if centuries of darkness had condensed into droplets that clung like dew. The glow of his antlers spread across the cavern floor, touching veins of crystal buried deep within the rock, awakening them in brief sparks of silver. And there at the far end sat the figure, the keeper of night. He was neither man nor beast, neither shadow nor flame. His form seemed carved of darkness itself, yet edged with a faint radiance, as though he were a silhouette drawn against an unseen light. His eyes held the depth of endless skies, and when he breathed, the cave itself seemed to exhale with him. Before him lay a great vessel, vast and deep, brimming with the fragments of moonlight the deer had carried from the river. They shimmered, faintly restless, like birds waiting to take flight. The keeper raised his head. "You have come farther than any creature before you," he said, though his voice was not sound, but a resonance that trembled through stone and bone alike. "Tell me, deer of the glowing crown, why do you seek what has been hidden?" The deer stood tall, his breath steady. He did not speak, for he had no words. Instead, he bowed his head, and the light of his antlers spilled forward, bright and unguarded. It touched the fragments in the vessel, and they flared in answer, recognizing the glow as kin that the keeper watched in silence. For a long moment, darkness and light hung in balance. The cavern brimmed with the weight of choice. Then the deer lifted his head once more, not in defiance, but in quiet trust. His antlers did not blaze with force, they glowed as an offering, steady and open. He had not come to claim, nor to conquer. He had come simply to return what was lost. The keeper rose slowly, the cavern shifting with his movement. His form towered like a mountain, Yet there was no threat in him. Instead, he gazed upon the deer with something that was almost wonder. For ages I have guarded the moonlight, the keeper said, not out of malice, but out of necessity. The world below had grown careless with its gifts. They gazed upon the night sky and forgot its power, forgot its silence, forgot to honor what guided them. So I drew the moon into shadow, waiting to see if any heart would remember. He stepped closer, his vast hands extending toward the deer. You have walked rivers of silence. You have carried the fragments of forgotten light, and you stand here, unafraid, not asking for yourself, but for the world beyond these mountains. The deer did not move. His eyes shone with calm, his antlers a quiet flame in the dark. The keeper paused, then bowed, slowly, deeply. Then the time has come. With that, he lifted his hands to the vessel. The fragments of moonlight surged upward, spiraling in great arcs, filling the cavern with a brilliance too vast to contain. The walls blazed silver, the ceiling cracked open with light. The darkness trembled, yielding at last. The keeper's voice rang through the brilliance. Return, O moon, to the sky that longs for you. The fragments rose higher, gathering, joining, becoming whole. A single luminous sphere formed above, glowing with the fullness of memory and hope. It trembled once, then soared upward through the cavern's mouth, climbing beyond stone, beyond shadow. Outside, the heavens shivered, the stars scattered wide, making room for their long-lost companion. And then, with a brilliance that filled the mountains, the moon returned, whole, radiant, and serene. Its light spilled over forests and rivers, over fields and oceans, touching every creature below. Wolves raised their voices in song, owls beat their wings with joy. Children stirred in their sleep, dreaming of silver, and at the mountain's edge, the deer stood, bathed in the glow he had helped restore. His antlers gleamed brighter than ever, no longer a solitary light in the dark, but a reflection of the greater brilliance above. The keeper stepped beside him, his form now softened, less shadow, more glow. His eyes, once endless voids, now shimmered. With the moon's reflection, you have done what no one else could, he said. Not with power, nor with pride, but with trust. Remember this bearer of light. The night is not only shadow, it is a gift, a place where the lost may be found, where silence may speak, where courage may rise. Guard it well. The deer bowed, his head once more, and when he looked up, the keeper was gone, dissolved into the starlight, his task complete. The mountain cave grew still again, empty, but for the faint echo of what had been. The deer turned back toward the world below. The moon guided him now, casting long silver paths across the land. His journey was not ended, it was only transformed. For wherever shadows gathered, there too would his light walk with them. Deer and the eternal glow. The night after the keeper's bow, the world felt changed. The moon returned to the heavens, whole and radiant, brighter than it had been in generations. Its glow did not simply illuminate the earth, it sank deeper, weaving itself into the rivers, the forests, the fields of wheat, and the waves of the sea. Even the stones seemed to hum faintly with its touch, as though remembering a song they had long forgotten. And in the stillness of this renewed night, the deer wandered. His steps were unhurried now, no longer pulled forward by a burden he could not name. Where once his antlers had burned with a solitary glow, they now shimmered with a quiet silver, soft and constant, a reflection of the moon above. His crown of light no longer marked him as alone in the darkness. Instead, it spoke of belonging, of being a thread woven into the vast tapestry of night. He moved through meadows where fireflies drifted, their sparks rising to greet him. He crossed rivers where salmon leaped silver arcs into the moonlight, their scales flashing like scattered stars. He paused in deep forests where owls watched him with golden eyes, bowing their heads as if in reverence. Everywhere he walked, silence followed, not of emptiness, but of wonder. The villagers, too, began to notice. At first, it was whispers. A herder saw him at the edge of the fields, standing still beneath the moon, his glowing antlers bright as lanterns. A child woke in the night to find him outside the village walls, gazing toward the mountains with calm eyes. An old woman, walking home by starlight, swore she saw him bend his head toward her, as if offering a blessing before vanishing into the trees. Soon, the stories spread. The deer of the eternal glow, they called him, a creature who carried the moon's memory in his crown. But though they spoke his name, few dared to seek him, not out of fear, but out of reverence, for they understood something deeper, that this was no ordinary wanderer of the woods, no simple beast. This was the one who had carried light where all others had faltered, who had met the keeper of night and stood unbroken. And so they waited, content to glimpse him only when the world grew quiet, when the moon lay high, when courage and silence walked hand in hand. The deer did not ask for their prayers. He did not linger in their villages, nor graze in their fields. He passed through as softly as a shadow, as gently as a breath, carrying the glow that had been entrusted to him. His gift was not possession, but presence, not command, but offering. And in this way, he became legend. Children learned to sleep by moonlight, whispering to one another that the glow upon their windows was carried on the deer's antlers before it reached the sky. Hunters, before loosing an arrow, lowered their bows when silver light brushed across their path, remembering that not all strength was meant to be taken. Lovers walked the night roads, hands entwined, grateful for the gentle radiance that guided them home. The world was no longer careless with the night, for the villagers had seen that even the smallest of creatures, a deer, soft-hooved and silent, could carry the heaviest of lights. And so they began to honor what they had once overlooked, the hush of shadows, the patience of stars, the slow turning of the moon. As for the deer, he grew neither old nor weary. His glow did not fade with the seasons. When winter came, snowflakes rested upon his back like pearls, glittering in the moonlight he carried. In spring, blossoms opened as he passed, their petals turning gently toward him. In summer, Fireflies danced in great swarms at his side, and in autumn, leaves fell in spirals of gold and silver, as though blessing his steps. It was as if time itself had loosened its hold on him, and so he wandered, year after year, beneath the faithful gaze of the moon. Some nights he returned to the mountain cave where the keeper had once stood. He would pause at the threshold, his antlers casting silver arcs upon the stone, and listen, though the cavern was silent now, empty of all but memory. The deer could still feel the keeper's presence in its depths, not as shadow, but as watchfulness, a reminder that courage had been tested and had not failed. Other nights, he would linger by the river of forgotten light, its surface no longer black but shimmering with the moon's reflection. The fragments had returned to the sky, yet the water remembered. When the deer bent to drink, he saw not visions of the past, but the quiet assurance of the present that light, once lost, can always be found again. The world carried on, as worlds always do. Generations passed in the villages, faces changed, seasons turned, but the story of the deer remained. Each telling softened it, reshaped it, but at its heart, the truth remained untouched, that courage shines brightest in silence, that even the gentlest can bear the heaviest of burdens, and that light is never truly gone so long as someone carries it forward. And still, on nights when the moon shone full and bright, villagers swore they could see him, a silver figure standing at the forest's edge, antlers glowing like lanterns of eternity, watching, waiting, guarding Dot, the deer of the eternal glow. He never spoke, he never stayed, but in his wandering, he reminded the world of something it had once forgotten, that night is not emptiness, but promise, that silence is not absence, but presence, that light does not only blaze in the heavens, but also walks quietly upon the earth. And so, as the moon kept her eternal watch above, the deer kept his below. Together, they carried the glow forever. And so, the deer who carried the moonlight continues his gentle wandering, a guardian of silence, a keeper of glow. May his light guide your dreams tonight as you rest deeply and peacefully. Until next time, here at Whispers of the Night.